Hi everybody, Chris Petrie, welcome back. I'm glad you're here and we're going to have some fun. We're actually going to enjoy a beautiful painting of Berlin today, Berlin, Germany. I know I've been painting scenes from around the world, different countries. A lot of people that follow my channel, I thank you all for coming by all the time and leaving great comments, and we all have a fun time here. We do great paintings. We do different style watercolor paintings. We do different subject matter. So we're having a great time here, and I hope everyone continues to come by and enjoy this format we have. So this is real simple. I always encourage everybody. I know I sometimes get emails from people and comments about how to get a picture of what I'm painting, and this is really the most simple way, is to use our cell phones and our laptops and whatever devices we have to capture the photograph of what we're going to paint and draw, and then we can use that. So here I just went online, did a search on some really interesting, I just typed in Berlin, Germany for interesting photographs, and I found this one. I like this one a lot. It's got some beautiful street scene subject matter that we can really have a great time with and fun. It's just a really beautiful scene. I'm going to reduce it a little bit. You'll see how I do that. But that's just, you'll find that online if you go online and just type in Berlin, Germany. Yeah, beautiful scene, street scene here. And we're going to do it this way. So you'll just need a phone or a laptop, and you look up your subject matter. We're doing Berlin, Germany. We're in this city now, and we're going to paint here. And we're going to pencil draw first, and then we'll do our washes, our watercolor washes over the top. And we're going to have a lot of fun. And again, I'm not sure if you're subscribed, but feel free to subscribe. You just tap the button below that says subscribe underneath the screen, the picture screen on YouTube, and we will get started. You could also hit the notification bell, which is right next to the subscribe button. And that will notify you each week as we make a new video, or if we do multiple videos during the week, you'll get that notification on your laptop or your cell phone. So I have my laptop set up actually across from me to the right, just sitting on my table, and I have it covered with plastic. I have some plastic, Mylar plastic, and I've cut a couple pieces. What I like to do is, it's a really good laptop, and I don't want to get any paint splashes on it, so I put this Mylar over the top of the keyboard and over the top of the screen. So I have two pieces of Mylar, one piece and then a second piece, and then I just rest those over my laptop. This way I can keep my laptop right next to me as I'm painting, and I cover everything so that there's no splashing. If I do splash with the paint a little bit. And so that's all set up, and so I basically, again, I just took this idea of taking the picture online, and I'm going to work from that photograph right on my laptop, right across from me. And we'll start off with our pencil drawing, and I'm going to actually minimize the scene just a little bit, and you'll kind of see once you find this picture online. And if for some reason you can't find this picture online, you can take any city scene and it works the same way, but I'm sure many of you are going to want to do this exact scene. And another thing you can do is just take a picture of your laptop with your phone on the first few minutes of this video. So you can take a picture of your computer screen if you want on your cell phone, and then you can take that picture and then send it back to your laptop if you want. So using electronic devices is really great. You can kind of, there's several ways you can get this picture to be able to work from it onto your laptop or your home computer or your cell phone or iPad or whatever device you do have. So again, we're going to do our familiar things we always do. We're going to just do a quick outline of our layout points around our paper. So here, I'm going to stick actually to that photograph. I'd like to use my photograph as my reference and use the entire photograph as well. I was going to minimize it a little bit, but I think I'm going to leave it as it is. So Up here is the start of, maybe it's about here, the building roof up here. And then down here, about halfway, we have another building roof. So I'm just going to write down my points that I'm going to make sure I start in the correct location on the paper. Basically, when you work from a photograph, you're at a real advantage because you already have everything right there at your fingertips. So you have the photographer that took the picture has already given you the whole scene exactly set in place as you would need it, and then you just basically find those points on your paper that will match the photograph. Versus if you're sitting in front of this scene, maybe if you're sitting, you know, if you have a lawn chair and you have a watercolor pad and you're going to draw and paint this on location, let's say, then it's a little more challenging. You have to kind of make decisions as you're there in person to what you're going to leave in and leave out of your painting. But here we have the photograph, so we're all set. And this is another point here. It looks like a sidewalk over here. So I'll just put sidewalk. And over here we have a car. I don't know, I might put the car in. That would be good to put the car in over here. Gives it some interesting subject matter for the street scene here. So I'll put car here. That's a car. And then and also car and sidewalk. All right, that looks pretty good. So we have our waypoints. I'll also maybe make one more. I think I would say the tower. There's a tower in the distance. I'm going to put that tower right here. So I'll put tower. And it's not halfway on the page. It's a little to the right of halfway. So I just want to make sure I can set this point too, so we can get a more accurate placing of the tower in the distance, and that'll give us our street, where our street all converges into that area, our street scene here in the buildings and so forth. And we're going to have fun here. Let's we've got our waypoint set. We looked at the scene. We got all the most important locations on the outer perimeter of our rectangle here, our painting dimensions. And let's take a break. It's always good. This took a lot of concentration, figuring out these waypoints, looking at the design of the painting, how we're going to set things up here. Perfect time. We'll take a little break, 5 minutes, stretch a little bit, walk around, and then we'll come right back and we'll start our drawing. So I'm just going to take a 5 or 10 minute break, and I'll be right back. All right, so we had a little break, and we're going to get back into our pencil drawing now, and I'm going to start. Let's see where we want to start here. I think what I'm going to do here is maybe get some angular lines going into the picture, so that I can kind of develop where I want to start the building. So this here, I'm going to do this super light. There's some railroad tracks, some rails on the asphalt here. So we'll make that. Some rail lines here going across, and then we have the car here, and then the buildings sort of And I'm just trying to get a feel for where everything is. I think I'm going to make that decision for this building over here on the right. And this is a pretty... And if it doesn't come out perfect, no big deal. You can kind of see I'm not going to make a big statement here on architecture, you know, getting architecture just perfect. I want to get the feel of the overall scene and not get bogged down with like all the minor details of everything. That's easy to do. So usually when I'm doing a scene like this where there's a lot of details, I'm always thinking in my mind, let me just minimize things, make things much more easier for myself. Does that make sense? If there's a lot of details in a picture or a scene, that's the time when the brakes come on immediately. And I say I have to simplify this scene because trying to capture all the details of something can just be like overwhelming. So if we can just get the basic idea of the building, going up on all the buildings here along the right side, going up and getting steeper and steeper as it goes up into the upper portion here of the painting, that's going to be good enough to get that feel of the perspective of the scene. And then over here, there's more information. There's some trees over here in the distance. And that won't be anything really difficult, just a little bit of some scribbly lines to help us to remember over here that these are trees over here. Then here we have some distant buildings. So I'm just going to make a couple square and rectangular shapes over here for the buildings in the distance. Then we have the tower that goes up here. And the tower is about, it extends up about to here. So I'll just transfer over, mark, and say it's about halfway between here and here, the top of the tower. So I'll kind of make a mark there and then say, all right, well, I'll just transfer that over there, and that's good. And we'll just leave the tower like that. Then there's a couple spheres on the tower. We'll put those there. And then it gets a little wider here at the base. So I'm doing this very lightly because this is something that's in the distance. It's kind of very, very light from the photograph. It's in shadow. The light's actually coming from the left side here and coming. So the light's actually, let's see where the light is in this picture. It seems to be maybe up overhead. It might be midday in this scene. So we'll take an insignia and just put our light here. Light seems to be midday over the top of the scene, not so much shining from one area. And we'll continue here. So we have the tower, and there's some more distant buildings over there, like this. Then we have a larger building here, and then we have this a larger building over here in the foreground, somewhat maybe middle distance to foreground here. So we'll say that is about halfway from the start of that. It looks to be a red brick building. That red brick building is about the width of halfway across to the distance of the edge of the painting, or the edge of the photograph. So we'll get that point there, halfway. And we'll go up like this. And then we have the angle of the roof. And again, maybe we won't get too worried about every detail. We're going to try to just capture the building and a few details on the rooftop. There's the roof here. Then along here there's a dormer, so we could put that there. And it looks like that goes down like that there, and then over here. That's pretty good. And then over here, we have another building rooftop and roof, and that looks like the roof over here is about there. And then now again, as we say about details, we're just going to maybe capture the size of the buildings. And these are trailing off into the distance this way. The building's to the left here. And then over here is another building. And it lands just about where we made our mark. Maybe a little bit different, but it's close. That's good. And then we just capture some details. There's some dormers on this. Just some marks on the paper so that when we're painting this, we can kind of get some detail on that. And there's and then over here there looks to be maybe a sign. And then over here we have, now in these buildings, before I start doing it's about time for a break soon. I'm starting to lose my focus here a little bit. I might just do one more. I might do we could use a ruler here. Let me get a ruler. For this light post, I can use a ruler. Maybe for part of the light post here. And then it's got a round feel to it. And it sort of goes up like that. And there's another one over here. Let's try to get that one in. All right, perfect time for a break. We'll come back and we'll finish up our drawing, pencil drawing. Most of our information is now in. We're really set. We're really in good shape here. We're just going to try to get maybe some of the other features here, maybe try to make some indication lines on the windows and doors on these buildings, just so that when we go in and paint, we have a little bit of more of a plan, we have things kind of laid out for us so that we don't have to start worrying about that while we're painting. We want to have everything pretty much worked out before we go in and paint. And that might be good like that. Okay, let's come right back after a quick break and we'll finish up this drawing. Okay, we took a break and now we're just going to come back and we're going to finish up our drawing. We have everything pretty solid here, and it's just a matter of maybe getting in some more details on the buildings, the windows, and maybe some of the minor details here and there we can try to incorporate into the drawing just so we have it if we want it when we're painting. So I'm going to take this here. This is another building that's abutting this building. So there's a series of buildings that go from right to left like this. So we'll try to capture that. And there's some architectural design with the windows. Okay, so I just got some of the architectural features. And then here, we have some they're interesting. There's some darks here in these archways, so there's some arched entryways and so forth as we're looking down these buildings along here. And the same here, we have a couple archways here. They look like maybe some balconies on the building. And the same here, so we're going to just do those arches there. And as it goes into the distance, there's some trees. And we'll move over here. Most of these details over here are very, very minimal. We just see some darks and some lights. And then here I just counted the floors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's like groupings of windows, and there's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then over here there's more windows. Again, we're not going to get super detailed. I'm just going to try to maybe just get some, I'm going to put in some vertical lines here. And the same thing here, some vertical lines. And then as we go off into the distance here, we can just get some lines on here. And I tried to just capture a little bit of a detail there. There's like a wall here. It's a retaining wall, and then there's a sidewalk here. Just maybe a few little details that can add to the interest of the composition. And there's something that maybe we want, like we'll add in maybe a tree here, so we can do that. We can do some different, add some detail to things. There's a tree here also that's in this, looks like a park-like area. So I'll just put that there. Some indication lines of a tree here in this park area, maybe another. Some other, maybe some smaller trees over here. And I think that's good. That really gives us a good feel. And in this scene too, we have a, might be an information board for advertisements. So we'll put that there. And there's maybe some other maybe some communication cabinets or things like that that there's usually on streets. And there's a couple lights here. And just again, I want to get those rails, and that's pretty good here. We got we have the interesting feel of the scene now. And we can paint another break, I would say. Let's take a quick break again here, and then we'll come back. We'll get our paint going, and let's take a quick break. Okay, we did a lot of steps here, and now we're ready to paint. It's real important to really go through the process that we do go through each time we're doing a painting. You know, getting the hash marks around the outside of our painting to get our subject matter lined up correctly within our rectangle here, our painting. It's also real important to take our time doing our drawing carefully, and what helps is the breaks. If you take breaks often, you'll definitely keep your concentration level up and be able to see things a little more accurately and be able to navigate through your drawing a little more accurately. If you're someone that doesn't like to draw all that much, that's not a problem. You can just get some basics down. I would definitely get the hash marks to start with pretty much good, and that's pretty simple to do. You're just really, you can even measure it with a ruler to get your sort of your layout, your measurements on the exterior perimeter of your rectangle. You can do that by just scaling things and kind of just even saying, you know, this looks halfway between the top and the bottom. This is just maybe a little bit up from the bottom. Same here, just a little bit up from the bottom is this hash point here where the car and the building start. This point up here is where the corner of the paper is. You know, that's fine. And then once you have that, you know, again, if you're not going to get too detailed with your drawing, not a problem. You know, you can just basically get the shape of your building and your rooftops in. And then a couple vertical lines just to give you some. And then again, you would scale maybe some of the vertical lines. If you can just get a few of those in, vertical lines, just so you can kind of see keep it realistic to the picture. So you have some segments of buildings, because there are different segments of buildings going through here and as well here. And if you get that, you're fine with just maybe doing less drawing if you don't want to do as much drawing. And maybe just a few details. Try to get in a few. Maybe some of these are important to sort of note. You can do that while you're painting as well. But I think we're pretty good on the drawing. Again, you can do more of a minimal drawing if you want. That's up to you. And we'll start the painting. I just have some fresh water and a collapsible water bucket. So it's just basically collapsible water bucket, fresh water, about half full. I usually have a tissue I keep on hand to take some water off the brush occasionally if I'm going to be doing an area where I don't need as much water and paint. I can take some of the water and paint off with my tissue, so I always have that in hand. And we're ready to start here, and maybe we'll start with some darker areas. It seems to work out really good to work on some darker areas first and then move toward the middle tonal values and the lighter tonal values. Those are more simple. It's a very light sky, so we won't have to do too much with the sky. And we'll see how it goes here. So we'll start out and we'll get some earth tones, some burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. And what we can do is we can modulate our colors a little bit. A little bit of cerulean blue. So if we put a little bit of each of the colors on the palette like this, that's pretty good. We have a great bit of dark here, dark colors, dark tonal values. And we can start, and I'm going to go over to this section here. It looks like there's some pretty dark areas of this building. And I can extend that dark out along the street area. It seems that the darks are extending out onto the sidewalk area. And it's good to mix the colors, use lots of colors when you're going to go into a section like this. Maybe some raw umber too. We can work out some more colors up here. Raw umber. Maybe a little bit of green. More of a reddish color. Use lots of colors even if you don't see them. You're the artist. If you want to make your painting more exciting, then you can add in more colors. Keep the idea of maybe warm and cool. So I just added a little bit of cerulean blue there. And I'm carefully looking at this area here. This building seems to be very light, so the glass is picking up the light from the sky. So we're thinking ahead now, and we're saying, well, what color is our sky going to be? I think we'll go with cerulean blue. So now we'll add cerulean blue to this building since the windows are picking up the light from the sky. So this happens to be quite a bit of light from the sky area, and then it gets darker. So I'm referring back to constantly referring back to the photograph, so that I keep looking and seeing where the colors are, the shapes, the tonal values. It gets darker down this way. And Here I'm using almost straight paint. I'm using straight paint here to get these really dark darks. And then as they work across here, I notice they start to, we start to get into these doorways and archways. So now what I'm going to think out loud here, I'm thinking out loud. I tend to do a little bit of improvisation here. I think we should do that as an artist. It makes it easier to paint. So when I start painting now, I can improvise a little. I can say, all right, there's a lot of details on this painting. Maybe I'll just try to simplify things and not get too worried about getting everything super accurate. If I see some large darks, spots of dark like that by the doorways here, I'm just going to do that. Make some large dark doorways here, but I'm not going to go and get worried about much more than just some rectangles like this. So I'm looking at the shapes and just saying, all right, those are rectangles, and maybe they aren't exactly like what's in the photograph, but that's okay. We'll get some of those details later. I'll go in again and we're making our darks now. Really, there's a lot of darks here in this section where the windows are and the arches. So I'll just mix up these darks here. And there's the arches there, and they sort of, they're lighter. So I'm just going to do that, a quick little, that's good enough. I think the more we mess around with things, like trying to get it perfect, it tends to get worse. So I'm going to put some blue in there. There's some windows with picking up the light from the sky, which we said was cerulean blue. And so for right now, I'm going to let that be as that is. That looks pretty good. And I'll wash some of this, put some more wash here, and it's going to have some blue in it from the sky a little bit. Cerulean blue, sort of a grayish mixture. And I'm going to say that is good right there. I don't want to go too overboard. We can always add something more if we want. We'll add more details later over here. Some lines for the windows. So I think what we're going to do is, if we move around the painting, getting in our darkest darks, we're going to be in really good shape. I'm going to just, since we're doing darks, that tends to be less water. So I'm going to wipe up some of the water off my palette. That's real important to try to keep the palette more dry. If you're doing a lot of darks, you're going to be using almost straight paint. So we'll be coming up on a break soon. Again, the more we can take breaks, the better we will be. We'll have things more under control. We won't get too fatigued and then have issues. And we'll do a few more darks over here. I know on this building here, I'm going to just there's a few windows like that. That building is somewhat raw umber, yellow ochre. So I'm going to try to get the feeling of that raw yellow ochre kind of feel on the buildings there. And there's some cerulean blue mixed into that too. I'll make some cerulean blue over here. Mixing around the colors. More variation of color is going to look much better than trying just to fill in one color when we're working along a section like this. And then I just infuse a little cerulean blue in that. This is a lot of fun. You can leave white paper if you want. I like white paper. Just leaving white paper a lot of times looks great. It kind of gives the eye a break. When someone's viewing your painting, if there's some areas with just kind of quiet, peaceful space with nothing really going on all that much, it really does look good. It helps the eye to take a rest a little bit. And some raw sienna. And some cerulean blue. Bit of splashing just to All right, that looks pretty good. I think we'll take a break now. We've just worked a lot. We've done about maybe 15 minutes of painting. That's a good amount of time to just let this dry a little bit and take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll continue to work around and get in some more of our darks around this area over here on the left side of the painting. All right, we took a little break and we're back here. We're going to get started again. Changed out my water, nice fresh clean water. Let's get started over here on the left hand side of this painting. I think the goal here is to try to get an abstract feel across the whole painting of our darker tonal values if we can, and even our middle tones. Here our middle tonal values, we're working those in too. So let's work over here on this side, and let's work on this building here. This little touch of cadmium red there. It's like a reddish brick. So I'll use some raw sienna, cadmium red. Here the idea is it's going to dry lighter in tonal value. So we can go a little stronger with our color. And I'm not going to get too worried about I'll mix in some blue, warm and cool, cerulean blue. Mix in some of that. looks pretty good. Our next building is yellow ochre, raw sienna. It's a little more of a and then another building looks, I'm going to change it around a little. I'm going to go back to that original mix we were doing. French ultramarine, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And I'm thinking that'll balance the painting a little bit better if I do that over here. And I think I'll do some of that reddish over here to balance the painting again. So I'm going to take some of that cadmium red mixture with the yellow ochre and red, raw sienna, and just put some here on this side of the painting. I think that'll balance things good. And then we'll work our way toward the center over here. Cooler as we go in the distance here. Cobalt, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, French ultramarine. And French ultramarine blue, burnt umber. More of a cooler mix there as we're in the distance over here. Notice that not much detail whatsoever as we're in the distance here. This is further away. This is like way in the distance in the painting, all the way far distance away on these this city street here in beautiful Berlin, Germany. We're having a lot of fun painting this painting, and we're enjoying the process here. We're getting our first washes in, our more abstract feel first, and then we'll go in and we'll do more details. We did some darks over here to start with to kind of set the pace as we're going. And I think we're pretty good right now. I think we can add some more details over here. So we'll do some burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. So I'll start, maybe I'll block in a little bit of shadowing up here. I'll try to straighten out a few lines here. We have a few more. We could start doing some more abstract. These are a little more difficult. Sometimes we would let the paper dry a little bit over here. That looks pretty good. We'll get a couple lines across here. And then again, I like to dry off my brush a little bit with some tissue, and we'll get some of these, do those quick. They look better fast. If you try doing those real slow, it's not going to look as good. Try to keep this the painting loose. It's going to have a loose feel. So I'll do a little splashing here. And maybe we'll do some rooftops over here. These are all dark black rooftops. So we'll keep the mix just straight paint, no water. So I dried my brush first, rinse my brush off, dry my brush on the tissue. And we'll go in here and we'll make our dark mix. French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna. And you just work it around until you get that real dark mix that looks really good. And then I dry my brush off, take off some of that paint and water so that we don't flood the paper too much with too much paint. And let's work in the roof here. And again, I'm going to try to do it somewhat quickly. I don't want to take too much time on this. It's important details here, but again, we're trying to keep the painting loose looking. This really dark mixture right here, that's only going to be for the foreground here, for like the middle distance and foreground. We wouldn't take this dark mix and paint anywhere in the distant areas. So always remember, great thing to remember. Does this make sense? Cooler and lighter in the distance. So cooler washes, you know, with more blues in there and maybe some greens, but mostly blue and grays in the distance. And then our darker mixes are going to be up closer in the foreground and in the middle distance. So if we can keep that in our minds when we're doing a painting and we're painting something in the distance, we're keeping the washes lighter in tonal value and cooler with, again, the blues and the grays. And then as we come closer in the foreground and in the middle distance here, the colors are more vibrant, more exciting, more color, warmer colors. Could be warm or cool colors, but more exciting, more vibrant colors, closer to us. So the distance in the painting just creates that cooler effect. So we want to keep true to real life, and I'm going to do that. The roof's over here. And even with our roofs too, we can change up this a little bit. So some dark, maybe a little change in tonal value here and there. I can also do that over here. I can put a little bit of water on here. Take a tissue. That looks good. Same thing here. Just another little spot we can. Good. Let's strive to get a lot of changes in our washes. That really works well. Further away over here. Lighter, cooler. Let's add a little bit of blue. Cerulean blue. Okay. Good time for a break. I'm hesitating right now. I'm getting a little bit, concentration starting to fade a little bit. Let me take a break. And we'll be right back. We'll keep going. I'm just going to take 5 minutes and then we'll come right back. All right, we're actually back from a break again. Take plenty of breaks. Does that make sense? We take plenty of breaks. Each time we take a break, we get refreshed. Our concentration gets a little better when we come back, and we can evaluate too. When we come back after a break, we can look at the painting and sort of strategize. If we keep painting, we won't do that. We won't tend to be strategizing or painting. So when we take breaks, it makes sense, right? We can strategize a little when we stop painting. We can strategize a little bit then, look at things, kind of maybe think about what we're going to do when we come back. Then when we come back from our break, 5-10 minutes, we look at the painting, then we can start strategizing again. Before we go in and start painting again, we can start looking and saying, okay, what am I going to do next? Is there anything I forgot to do on a certain section? So, so on and so forth. So it really is helpful. Keep trying to do that. I know everyone's doing it. Excellent job out there. I know all of my friends that have been with me for years now. I know you're all doing your breaks consistently, which is great. And those that are new, I'm excited that you'll maybe learn this new technique of just taking lots of breaks when you're doing your painting. You really will. You'll find you'll definitely have a lot easier time making good decisions with your paintings. So right now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, yeah, I'm pretty set here. Actually, the bulk of the painting is done. All the buildings are completed. Pretty much, we have some little details, maybe some windows and some a little bit of details to do on the buildings. But for the most part, this side over here is done. We'll do some more ornamentation and details on this building over here in the front section over here, and then a little bit on the sides. We're not going to make too much of a interest point over here on the edges of the painting. So on the edges of the painting, you can go with less details and maybe use less intense colors. And then as you get toward the center of the painting, you're going to use maybe your more intense colors and exciting colors. Kind of keeps the viewer's eyes in the center of the painting and not drifting off the painting. Again, we're in good shape now. Let's try to get some details on this building here. So we're going to go in and we'll use some of our darker burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, some cerulean blue, and we'll try to get in these windows here. So I'm just going to try to quickly so we had five floors on this. And then we'll add there's some dark shadows along the bottom of the building, so we definitely want to do those. And we'll just kind of get those in. Try to work these in. And we look at this and we say the wider the windows and doors are wider when they're closer to us, and then as they go off into the distance, they get thinner and smaller. So we'll just keep that idea like that. And I'm just going to do we're going to put a tree here, which is going to be fun. We'll put a tree here and it'll make, see this building here is quite large, quite prominent in the painting. So now we can use that tree that is in the photograph. We'll use that tree and we'll make a nice grouping of branches and some leaves, and that'll sort of help us to dress up this building a little bit and make it less difficult to try to work all the details in. We can kind of hide it a little bit behind the tree. And again, this painting is not exactly like the photograph. I'm not worried about getting it exactly the same. I'm going to try to get as close as possible, but also giving myself the freedom to have some fun and not be sweating every detail on the architecture and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's really... How do you feel about that? Is that a good approach? You know, we try to get things accurate, but we can't be, as an artist, we have to help ourselves so that our paintings go easier and we have more fun, and we don't want to keep suffering over small details, and then the fun of it is not there, and we want that. We've got to have the fun part. All right, so we did the tree there with our needlepoint brush, and I'll go in and get some a little bit of green. That's Viridian green, cool green, and with the mixing with that little bit of our regular mix of French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and burnt sienna. And then I'm just going to splash on some leaves. And that's just all that we have to do for that, and it's good. And we could take a few of those and just mix around a little bit, a couple of spots, hit and miss, very sparingly. Just a couple spots. We could take some yellow ochre, add a couple bits of yellow ochre in here. And that looks good. And there's another tree over here. Let's do the windows first. So we'll clean up our palette a little bit. Some paper towels. Keeps the paint a little fresher. And then we'll go in with some more details here. French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, burnt sienna, some blue, cerulean blue. And then we can just do some, and again we're going to do a tree over here, so we can just kind of, and we could just go right down the line here. These here I'm just going to do, again, further in the distance, not as much detail. And then this tree we're going to make smaller. Less is more. Yellow ochre. And if you find you have too much paint on there, maybe you can lift up a little bit. And maybe some more here just to So I'm just using my needlepoint brush. We're going to get in some more trees over here just to kind of sort of hide that other building over there a little bit. We want it to be a building over there that we can see clearly, just as it is in real life, as in the scene. Yellow ochre and viridian green, and I will just splash on some indications of leaves. And maybe I'll go across here like that. We can always have fun and argue and say, oh, they planted some trees over here. If we want to, we can pretend that things changed a little bit. We're not going to get too concerned and fuss over the details. Looks better for us. It looks better, right? As an advantage, as an artist, it looks better for us here. We can add some trees, and it kind of just looks better. And even over here as well, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just a couple indications. And we'll add a tree over here as well too. I think it's going to make the painting look better. Much better. We'll do some shadowing under these trees. That's going to look really good. And we'll do maybe a tree over here on the right to balance things. Maybe here. Burnt umber, maybe some raw umber, cerulean blue. I'll start off the trunk with a little thicker brush, and then we'll go into the needlepoint brush here, and then we'll just some branches here and there. Just flick them on. Don't get too concerned. Just a few. We're going to add some leaves, and that'll finish everything up perfect. Yellow ochre and some sap green. Maybe some cadmium lemon yellow. As things are closer, more vibrant color. In the distance, more subdued colors. Just a basic kind of principle to follow. Doesn't have to be that way always, but that is a good rule to follow. And there we have some beautiful leaves on that tree there, and some branches, and we're going to do some shadowing. We're going to do the road here, this street that comes through, and we have some of the train rails that come through, and We'll get the sky in and some of the other details, but now's a good time. Maybe we'll take a break. I'm going to just do a couple more splashes over here, maybe some of that. If I do some of that lemon yellow over here, let me add a little there. Okay, excellent. What makes this painting fun is we're not going to do hardly any details to the sky and this street area. So really, the detail is going to sort of be right across here through the center of the painting this way. And then sort of like this too. We'll make some details here. We're going to put in that tower. So we're kind of putting most of our interesting details of the painting right through the middle, which is kind of a nice effect. And we'll keep light on the details over through here and up in the sky. And you'll see how it comes all together once we get those last bit of washes on. Okay, we'll be right back. Another break, and then we'll come right back. All right, we are back from a break. We're now in the final phases, and this is really a fun time. We're going to just do some last-minute details to the painting, finish up the sky and the ground level areas, a few more details. I did a little bit of work while we were away. I just added some details to the with my needlepoint brush to these windows here, and I added a few very fine lines here on this building, on this side over here, the side of the building that's heading down that street here, this area of street. And I think here we're going to do this painting the way we want to do it. I'm painting this painting the way I want to paint it, and that's the fun thing about art. You can change things around. You might do this painting a little different than I do it, but that's fine as long as we kind of agree that we want to try to keep it close to the original photograph. So that's our main thing I'm going to say is try to keep your painting close to the photograph, or even if you've chose a different photograph to work from. But the thing is to try to keep it somewhat close, but add your own ideas into it. So try to create your own ideas as you're going. Some favorite things you like to do. Maybe your technique's a little different with the way you put your washes on your paper, so on and so forth, or you might use a different brush or two, or I guess what I'm saying is automatically your painting's going to have a little bit of your own flair in it and a little bit of your own style, and that's great. You're just seeing me do my painting, and I'm putting in some of my favorite things I like to do. So, you know, you might like some things I'm doing here. You might not be so happy about maybe a few things I'm doing, so you would leave those things out of your painting, obviously. Let's keep going here. So I'm feeling good about this. I think it's looking really good right now. We have most of all the real bulk of the detail we need in this painting, and then we'll just add the final parts to this, and it'll all come together really nicely. So I will go in now and try to... There is this, looks like a kiosk for information maybe over here. Maybe some train information when the trains come through, or the trams. And then there's some other things. There's another, looks like a sign over here too as well. Maybe another kiosk over here, or some sort of a directory of some sort, maybe a little stand. But what I'm thinking is let me do my road wash first, because that's going to be light, and then I'll go in and do my darker paint here. So this way I can really throw on my paint real nice on my road, get my road wash in here as well as over here on this sidewalk area over here, and this looks like a little bit of a park area here. So let me get the light wash on first here, then I can go in and do some of those final details, and maybe we'll do the rails in a dark color. So we'll leave the ground area a little lighter, so it's going to be a little different than the picture. So I'll take cerulean blue and leave some of that muddy color we had on there, and that looks about good, just using that much of a wash. And this was darker over here, so I can do that. There's some dark there, and there's some dark lines here. Then I can go in and make that even lighter yet. And I'm going to try to get the flow of maybe the flow of the light, or just there's some light bouncing around here, so have some fun. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the rails of the train or tram lines here the same way I'm going to do some of my shadowing. I'm going to leave some light. I'm going to leave some light on the ground. Some mysterious shadows over here. I want to leave that white paper though. That's good. And let's just go right in and some cerulean blue. Let's get the sky in. You can see the wash is going to be, I'm going to kind of make an arrow effect. Like that. I find the quicker and easier we make skies washes, the better they come out. I just scrub on the wash. And then I slowly taper it down. Just a fun thing I like to do. I make the clouds more straight across in the horizon here, the far horizon. Distance, the far distance. And again, the wash is always dry, lighter. So I want to just have a little more excitement. With my tonal values here. And I'm using all the same colors. We didn't really get too we kept our colors a lot the same in this painting. Not quite a limited palette, but we kind of stuck to a lot of the same colors, you'll notice. All right, another break is definitely advisable here. This way all the washes can dry completely. So we'll take like a 15-20 minute break at least, so that this really can dry all the sky washes and this the street wash here. We let this dry really well. Then when we come back in to do our final shadowings and our final bit of details with the light, the tower in the distance here, and a few of the other details, it'll be fine. We won't have any problems with the washes going all over the place and making a mess. So this is really a good time. We'll take a break and we'll come back in like 15-20 minutes. All right, we had a nice break. We had probably 20 minutes. We took a 20-minute break, and we're going to go back and start mixing a little bit of our darks again. Burnt sienna, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, and we're going to finish up here, and this kiosk here, let's do that. I added a little bit of yellow ochre there. French ultramarine blue. I'll try to keep this very minimal. I don't want to. So I want to try to keep this nice and simple. This directory here, it looks like a directory maybe for trains, the schedules, whatever that is. Someone will email me or text me or make a comment in the comments section on some of the details here. I'm trying to and there's a bit of a shadow there. More dark, burnt sienna, burnt umber, French ultramarine blue. Again, we're keeping the composition, same colors. We use mostly our darkest darks over here, and then we use some cadmium red on the buildings over here with a little bit of yellow ochre. And that's really, we didn't use many colors other than that. Cerulean blue for the windows and the buildings. And the sky was really just cerulean blue and burnt umber, and are these three colors here, the darker darks. So we just left a tiny bit of that with cerulean blue for our sky wash and for the wash here on the street. So it is a pretty simple color use of colors that we have here. We didn't go too much and here we can go maybe a little more. I'll make that kiosk a little taller, and I'll try to, the wash got a little out of control here, so I'll just let that dry a little bit. We'll do a couple figures too. Let's do, with our needle point brush, then what I do is I dry off a little bit on the tissue, and then we'll do this light post, and we have to be really careful. I'm going to turn my arm around, so I'm basically turning my arm completely around this way. So if you can imagine, I'm standing with my I'm standing at the side with my I'm turning my whole body around so that I can get this angle with my brush a lot easier. Then I can turn back this way. And then we get this light. That's good. We want to leave a little bit of, I wouldn't make it completely solid. I left it a little bit light through here. That always is a good effect. Almost like the light's bouncing off it and you're not seeing it fully. The light is sort of obstructing the view of some of the light posts. So that's a good good technique I use a lot. It seems to work pretty good. And then we'll do the tower over here. The tower is going to be cool cooling color, so we'll get some cerulean blue there. And the same thing, I'll dry off the brush a little bit so that we can get this nice and thin. Then there's the two spheres. And I'll go around like that. And then we'll go down like this. Perfect. And then there's a little bit of shadowing to this. So we can go and get a little cerulean blue maybe, just to make it a little bit darker. And if you think it's too dark, no problem. This is better off really minimizing this. If you can minimize this, I think it's better. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to really leave this very minimal because and it will dry lighter. Again, with the tissue, and sometimes it's better. Yeah, let's minimize that. That's good. Okay, and then we have there are some trees there in the distance. So let's do just some tree ideas. I'll dry off the brush a little bit. So these are the final details. And a little bit of splashing. Okay, now we're back to this here. I think we're in, that's better now. I can finish that. It was a little bit, then we will go with a few figures. Let's see now. Let's do maybe two on the right, one on the left. Figures, we can have fun with these. We'll go with per umber. We'll make the figures dark. I'll probably go with we'll go maybe here. And then I'll go with so I just work my figure in a little bit at a time here. If it's too dark, you can lift up some. maybe some, maybe it looks, maybe it looks a little better transparent. Some cadmium red and yellow ochre for the flesh color, maybe. Person maybe has a briefcase. We're going to have a shadow with that, which will make it look really good. And less is more. No need to get too. We'll put a highlight on there. Some white, titanium white. Let's do a couple more figures. Maybe a couple figures over here. We're going to make it the same level as this figure. So maybe we'll have a smaller figure on the street here, or two. We'll have two. Two figures walking along here. They're smaller, so we'll make them smaller in size. But we'll try to keep the heads of the figures about the same level. And they'll be walking towards us, so we'll see the red flesh tones for the faces, and then maybe we'll go with some cerulean blue. I just start off with the body shape first, and go with the darker color here. And when we add the shadows, we will, or when we add the highlights to these, we'll make them, the figures a little more dynamic. Maybe this one here, darker. And some shadowing. And just a suggestion of some figures. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's good. These figures are kind of more, a little bit in the distance there, so we don't have to mess around with those too much. You know, just a little bit of some face color for the complexion, a little bit of maybe color for the arms, and then the legs are very simple, just really a little bit of colors, you know, darker colors for the leg areas and the pants. You could change the colors around and make it different if you want. Here's pretty good. I like that. That came out good. Add a little blue to that. And we'll do some more shadowing. French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. I just thought there's some shadows over here just for the tree area. Okay, so we have the light post there. And we'll do a little more with the walls here. Again, now it's just really, I'm trying to keep it somewhat, you know, I'm trying to keep it pretty close to the original. So there's some wall along this sidewalk here. Then there's some steps over here, so I'm going to try to keep that. And a couple details here. Okay, and then that looks pretty good. Now we'll do the lines in the road very lightly. We'll try to get those rail lines. They're lighter over there, and then they get a little darker here. So I'm just going to try to do that. Okay, and we'll do some lines up here. These are lines going across the top. I try to keep these sort of light. I thought these might be a little more, these should be. So I'm going to do a couple more of these just to, these are the lines for the trains, the electrical lines. So I want to stay true to the picture. That's better. There's a couple blocks like that. Okay, that's when I start to say everything's good. Enough details here, otherwise I might spoil it. And our final excellent bit of, so we'll put some yellow ochre, and we'll put a little bit of that yellow ochre into the titanium white in our tube, mix it all up. Then we'll add a few highlights. So the highlights are good. One that way, one this way. So one up, one sort of sloping down. And you can always lift up a little bit. These here, same thing. I'm going to put a little light on the tops of the heads of the figures here. It's always good to have a little light on the tops of the heads. And then the shoulders too, catch a little bit of light. And that's pretty much complete. A little bit of cerulean blue. I'm going to rinse the brush. I noticed there's a little bit of cerulean blue in the windows here. All right, that looks fine. We can always go back and add a few details if we have to, but I think we should be good with this, and we'll peel off the tape. That's looking good, I think, already. Beautiful painting of Berlin, Germany. We've been painting beautiful scenes all around the world. Some of my fans, some of my best people that join along on our YouTube channel here are from Germany and France and England and Britain, Canada, Australia, United States, of course. So we have people from whole countries, really. Everyone's joining along here, so I'm glad everyone's here. And again, if you're new here, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell too. You'll know that we make videos every week, so you'll get notified when the video comes out. Thanks again for being here, and maybe we'll do one other thing here. We're still having a fun time, and we'll do maybe something just to bring a little more interest to the painting too. I try to do this. Maybe we'll add in a I'm trying to think what would be the best over here, maybe. And then we'll do a German flag here, so we'll have and we'll just get a nice little bit of and we'll use our and we added our German flag here, and we have a wonderful scene. Berlin, Germany, beautiful streetscape. Lots of beautiful light in this picture. We'll zoom in here. I'll lift this up and we'll try to zoom in on the scene just a little bit. You can see more of the details. could also take a picture at this point and use it as a reference. So that seems to be pretty good. Lots of interesting colors, light, plenty of details, but not too many details. Enough just that we can get the painting done and not stress too much. All right, everyone. Have a great morning, evening, afternoon, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.